is where we discuss the possibilities.
Hey guys, I'm Dr. Kori Joe, Wellness Director, Health Psychologist, and Vice President of the Diet Doc, and I'm here again with Dr. Joe Klemczewski, founder of the Diet Doc. Welcome to the Diet Doc Life Mastery Podcast once again. We are in episode number 5 of our Motivational Mastery Goal Pursuit series. And yesterday, what we discussed, Joe, was this PERMA model of happiness and how we can acquire these 5 different massive areas, PERMA. Go back to the last episode, guys, to listen and find out what those actually mean. We can acquire those by utilizing and applying our character strengths. Now, I also had mentioned that I had like 8 bullet points that I wanted to go through to help people really grasp how they can persistently and consistently pursue their goals to get to that ultimate outcome of success. And so want to go through those, and I'm going to do that in a very concise way so that everyone out there who's listening and or watching can take those very valuable notes and be able to review. But I wanted to start with a message that I'd received from someone who's been following along with this series. Joe, you game?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, it's pretty awesome. But here's what he said. He said, "Hey Kori, I just wrapped up an hour and 15-minute self meeting." He called an executive meeting with himself after listening to our podcasts. He said, "I reconnected with my fitness goal of getting to 230 pounds and my other goals. I went deeper and I wrote an identity statement and I added it to my values statement. I printed it and I put it in my journal and I hung it in my bathroom." He said, "By coming back to the spiritual roots of my identity and value statement, I can see that I really need them in my daily life so that I can connect to my true self. Only my true self can get me to the future me. Only knowing who I am can I live the lifestyle of future me." And in parentheses, he put, "which is a grind." Yes, it's a grind. And that entails all those relational, weight, spiritual, financial, and career goals. And he just said, "Thank you for coaching me through this experience. I truly appreciate what you guys are providing for us." So that makes my heart beat faster. It gets me super excited about the different, I think, areas of insight that this is prompting people to move through, and just pretty cool. What Nani, I didn't suggest that he have an executive meeting with himself. That was his idea. So
yeah, and what a powerful summary of what we've talked about so far. I go back to the fact that almost every single episode, it's hard to let go of that premise that you have to attach any goal to your values if you want it to stick. Yeah. And what you just said before we get into the 8 points reminds me of something that I think was almost life-shattering if you're willing to think this through. And it's when Nietzsche described the difference between the higher man and the herd. So here's all of humanity, and yet there seems to arise these superstars who change the course of our entire species and world. And here's what's interesting about what he said about those particular higher humans. He said they all seem to have a life-unifying project. They have something that is so encompassing to who they are at their core that they just can't let it go. And he said more often than not, those people end up working on something that transcends even their life. He said it like this. He said a lower man wants to pick the fruit from his own tree, The higher man doesn't care. He's doing it for the sake of everybody, for the sake of the goal itself, because it's just such an embodying project.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes on to say, like, these people have lower egos. They just get into it for the sake of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tie this back to your friend's, idea of having kind of a life meeting or self meeting. It's, hey, let's figure this stuff out, figure out who I am, who I want to be, and let's get all of those lanes heading in the same direction. I think that's so important. So you're going to tell us about 8 points of exactly how to do that, right? We're going to cover them all.
Yeah. Yes. I'm not going to go into anything that you just said because I could go off on a million tangents.
Pocket that for later.
Yes. I'm tucking all of that stuff away for now. So the first point was based on the last podcast was become aware of what your character strengths are. I had mentioned you are 8 times more likely to experience more positive emotions, a greater sense of engagement, a sense of meaning, more robust relationships, and you will accomplish more when you are aware of them. The second bullet point is to use them. Once you've become aware of what the character strengths are and your top 5 character strengths that most resonate with you, that you're implementing almost automatically, you don't even necessarily have to think about it. It doesn't even have to be deliberate. When you apply those and you're actually using them in the different contexts of your life, especially in the context of goal pursuit, you are 18 times more likely to experience that sense of happiness and well-being that comes from those 5 areas, PERMA. The third bullet point is, and we've talked about this before, but it's incredibly important, it's to position our attention to notice the good, okay? And you had mentioned you have an image that you go back to, a memory that you go back to, especially when it feels hard, maybe, when it feels arduous, when it feels tenuous, or when you just need a sense of ease in your life. And so it's noticing the good, it's extending gratitude, and it's acknowledging the work, the effort that you've put into place through your goal pursuit as you're taking the steps to get to that ultimate outcome. And it's something that I think a lot of us forget to do. We just move on because we have this negativity bias. So we're really spending more time looking for everything that could possibly go wrong and what the barriers will be, and we miss all the good along the way. So the fourth bullet point is to use what's not ideal. Okay, here we come into, because there are going to be things that are not ideal, but let's use what's not ideal to notice all that is. Okay, let's use what is inevitably going to happen. Not great, not ideal, not super awesome, wish this wasn't happening. Let's use that stuff as an opportunity to see all the other things that have gone really right and that aren't wrong. This is a question I like to ask a lot of my clients. What's not wrong? Because a lot of people will come to us with exactly what's wrong and what's crappy and what needs fixed and what's broken. Well, let's talk about what's not wrong. So I would encourage everyone who's listening and watching, ask yourself that question. What's not wrong? Number 5, okay, is to, when you're engaged in your goal pursuit, make the tasks that you need to take responsibility for too easy not to do. Too easy not to do. So this really comes down to engineering your environment internally and externally in a way that it would be silly not to do it because it's just too easy. And I think of clients who, they're just getting started with something around nutrition or exercise. And say you have a person who's not exercising at all, do 1 push-up a day. Okay, that's something. It's more than you were doing before. It's too easy not to do. For you to say, I couldn't do 1 push-up today, you're going to feel really silly that you didn't do that. Is this resonating? So far, all this coming together? Okay. You know, I think that in this vein with this number 5, make the tasks too easy not to do, it reminds me of how in mindfulness work, one of the mantras is begin again and again and again. Because in mindfulness, people think they're doing something wrong if they notice that they're getting lost in their thoughts and the thought stream. Well, the whole idea is if you notice that you're getting lost in your thoughts, it's the noticing that indicates that you're doing it, quote unquote, right. And in that moment, then you just begin again. So it's the same thing. Stop stopping. Keep pedaling. I use that in my own life. Just stop stopping. Make it so easy that you can't not do that next thing. So here's number 6. And this comes from Adam Grant, who is a business professor, I think at Wharton. And he says we all need a challenge network and a support network. Most of us talk about building our support systems and surrounding ourselves with people who are like-minded. That's not always the best, though, because they keep us kind of locked in our belief systems and in our biased sort of ways of thinking and behavior. But they're valuable because they're the people who are going to usually agree with us. And they're going to say, yeah, totally. I get you. I hear you. And you're on the right path. Like, let's just keep going. You can do this. The challenge network, on the other hand, says, I wonder if you might approach it this way. They're going to tell you what you need to hear. You know, this is what I'm understanding is kind of occurring for you right now, but I wonder if you went this other direction, if you might experience a greater success. You might step out of the box a little bit and try something a little bit different. So challenge network, support network, both of them are very important. But I think for people who are really wanting to grow and develop and expand and learn through their goal pursuit, that it's incredibly important for us to kind of tease apart both of them and have those peeps in both camps. What are we on, 7? Mm-hmm. Okay. Number 7 is learning to and practicing toggling between the outcome, that final event, like this is, I lost 100 pounds. That's the outcome, losing 100 pounds. The goal, lose 100 pounds. And the process, which is everything that I need to do, think, be, feel, say, become aware of, learn, grow through, develop around along the way. So if we are always just focused on that end result, it can feel very heavy and very overwhelming. Okay, so we need to learn to step back into, wait, what's just the one thing that I need to do right now? Right now. You know, my goal is to lose weight. The one thing that's in front of me right now is this meal. How can I craft the best meal for what I need to stay aligned with that outcome, but right now? So it's being able to jump back and forth between the process and the outcome. Number 8 is understanding the difference between pleasure and enjoyment. This is a big one, because if we're always just focused on pleasure throughout our goal pursuit process, we're just going to be trying to satisfy our basic needs. Basic needs of sleep. So the alarm goes off, and we had said we were going to get up in the morning and get in our daily exercise, and we're just like, oh, I'm too tired. Yeah, I'm just going to stay in bed. My bed is warm and comfy. Okay.
That's a perfect imitation of me in the morning. Exactly what I look like.
I don't know how I know that, because I don't have any experience with that. My alarm goes off and I'm just like, boom, out of bed like a rock.
That I can imagine. I'm sure that's exactly what that's like.
I've never hit the snooze button in my entire life. I'm sorry that happens for you, Joe. That it's
yeah. Sometimes I'm a little better than others. It just kind of depends on when I went to bed.
So,
I'll work on that. I'm going to work on number 8. That'll be my goal.
Yeah, well, because the pleasure side of it is it's immediate gratification. It's going with your first thought. And this is what I like to tell my clients.
I'm so good at that, though.
That's your first thought. Now say, on second thought, there's a reason that phrase works. Because it's typically our prefrontal cortex, helping out our amygdala, saying, hey, dude, seriously.
I let my neocortex rest for the big tasks. I just, let him stay in hibernation.
There's something to that. So that's the pleasure. Impulsive, first thought, basic needs, food, sex, and sleep. All important, all very, very important. But on the other side of it is the enjoyment side. So that's intellectual stimulation, it's creativity, and it's satisfying, not fighting. We don't need fighting.
That's a word.
People.
Satisfying. We could use that.
This is thought, the second thought, punching the first thought in the face and saying, dude, don't be silly. Don't be dumb. You know what's important to you. Get out of bed. Psychological needs, satisfying the psychological needs, which are, that sense of choice and autonomy, and then that sense of connection and belonging. Oh, my friend's waiting for me in the gym. I'm getting up. And then that sense of effectiveness in managing our worlds and our environments and our circumstances. Because if you had said when you went to bed, getting up at 4:30, I'm going to go meet Paul at the gym and we're going to go do our workout, and then you just stay in bed, you're just going to feel pretty cruddy. You get up 2 hours.
Bad friend, yeah.
Yeah, now you have a fractured relationship, and you just feel bad about yourself at the same time. And
Paul's going to become an alcoholic and get depressed, and
totally.
It'll be all my fault.
Awful things can happen.
Yeah. Okay, so can I jump in and tell you in just a little bit of a summary what I heard you say and what resonated with me?
Yes, please.
Permission to speak, Dr. Probst. Okay, so numbers 3, 6, and 8.
Okay, wait. Should I review what they are for everyone who's listening?
Man, my brain spreadsheet logged them all down.
Okay, then please.
But no, so number 3 was being positive, looking at the good in things, and I mean, I love that, because if I go back to Nietzsche, what he was saying in the genealogy of morality and Will to Power, those key books of his, he discussed that the lower man, the herd, is often negative and just has contempt, and they want to tear everybody down. If I can't have my way, nobody's going to get their way. Mm-hmm. And the higher human is positive and giving and has, as I said, low ego, and he's not doing it just for himself. And that's where you and I talked about the values of these goals. If it's more than just me, you have a higher ability to achieve that.
Yes.
And I think also number 8, if I remember it correctly, no, I'm sorry, 6, was having a challenging entity in your life versus just a rah-rah team.
Yeah.
And I that's where I meet my biggest goals, is when I'm using a collaborative approach with other people. And as you were going through that, it made me think, when I started playing guitar, I knew it wasn't going to be like a 12-year-old kid spending 8 hours a day in his room. Like, I'm busy. I'm going to have to schedule this out and take a long game approach.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a couple friends who were coaching me along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And, they were like, push, push, push. They want to make me as good as I can be. And I'm like, guys, that's awesome. I'm going to do that, but it's going to take me more time. I'm going to have to do it this way. And so again, it was that push and pull of having different influences to help you through it.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, I mean, I think that kind of ties into number 8, is just having a longer term approach, thinking that it's not necessarily just the pleasure, but the enjoyment in the ordinary. We talked about that a couple episodes ago too, and even going back to your other point about toggling between the instant daily needs of accomplishing it and that long-term goal. So if you would, just for anybody who missed some of those taking notes, just roll right through the entire 8 bullet points so everybody's got those down.
Definitely. Thanks, Joe, for sharing your stories too. I think it makes it easier to understand when you can really put it into perspective and relate it to something in your own life. Number 1, become aware of your character strengths. 2, use them, actually apply them in your lives. 3, position your attention to notice the good, to extend gratitude, and to acknowledge what you've accomplished along the way. Number 4, use what's not ideal to notice all that is. Okay. 5, make the tasks too easy not to do. 6, am I on 6? Put together a challenge network and a support network. 7, practice toggling between the outcome and the process. See, I can't do this. I can't talk at the same time and give numbers.
Two different sides of your brain, yes.
Totally.
Competing.
It must be 8, because I'm like, am I on number 10?
Number 74.
You guys are learning about the inner workings of Kori's mind. This is one of my things. I know multitasking doesn't exist anyway, but I am a very good example of that. 8 is understand the difference between pleasure and enjoyment.
Okay. So as a way of wrapping this up, one of the things I want to challenge you to do, Kori, because this is your baby. You're the brilliant psychologist. I'm just the layman in the herd. But before we get through this series, I want to do kind of a Joe's Cliff's Notes in terms of, just creating that spreadsheet mentality of checking things off. And you've got these amazing concepts, which I think we could do an entire month on every one of these 8 points. But in the future, very near future, I'm going to give a very dumbed down Joe version of accomplishing your goal. So you're going to have to, I'm challenging you to let me have the reins for just one episode.
Of course. I would love that.
Not because what you're doing is not amazing. It is, but I keep coming down to, I know there are going to be people who say, okay, that's all conceptual, great, brilliant stuff, but tell me what to do right now. Like my very first step, I just need somebody to take me by the hand and do this.
Well, so I love that you've gone there, because this is actually what I do on a daily basis with my clients. So it isn't just, let me give you the 8 bullet points. When I'm doing a mental edge session, it's not, here's the 8 bullet points, or, you know what, here's the concept of mindfulness.
Go read a book and get back with me later.
Exactly. We're actually doing it in session. We're practicing the breathing. And so what you're describing is the actual practice of getting into the action and becoming action oriented. And maybe what we need to start doing too with all of our podcasts, Joe, is to, at the very end, be giving people an action step.
Cool.
Let's do that.
So that'll be our action step for the next podcast, is to come up with an action step.
Awesome.
But I think we're going to be able to wrap this up in maybe 10. We should like put a limit, like how many goal pursuit, because this is epic content in my opinion. So I do not want to stop short. I don't want to assume people are going to get bored with this and want something else. I want to complete an amazing group of podcasts that talk about this, and then we'll move on to some of the other life aspects.
Great. Perfect. Okay.
All right, guys, thanks again for joining us. And we're going to keep hitting goal pursuit for at least a couple more sessions. And then we're going to roll into more nutrition, relationship type stuff, social coaching. We got to get some more coaches in our coaching clinic to talk about that, fitness entrepreneurship. But for now, just as Kori read that amazing quote, anything you're experiencing through this, ideas, criticism, help, focus for us on what to talk about next, please keep throwing that at us, because we're going to use it to make sure that we're answering your questions. So thank you very much for your engagement.
Have a great day, guys. Thank you.